you very much for joining us. My name is Phil Binks. I'm the head of ATM here at Altitude Angel. As I say, this is going to be the first of a number of webinars that Altitude Angel plan to host throughout 2021. There'll be a number of series of topics, developments, discussion points, all around unifying of traffic management, unification, bringing everybody together. During this webinar, if you have any questions, please feel free to submit them. We'll try and answer as many as we possibly can. We've already had a number of questions already submitted before the seminar began, which is absolutely fantastic. Thank you very much for everybody who's done that. You may notice that there'll be certain subjects or topics within those questions, which we may just pull all the questions together and try and address it as a topic. But if we do not directly answer your question, we will put a Q&A paper together, which you'll be able to access via the internet, and hopefully we'll give you answers to those questions. Throughout the seminar, if we haven't answered a question in as much detail as you'd like, please reach out to us and get hold of us. You can always reach out to Altitude Angel through hello@altitudeangel.com, and we'll get back to you as soon as we can. Anyway, let's the first webinar begin, and I'm delighted to be joined by two industry pioneers. The first I'd like to welcome is Gokhan Celik. Gokhan is the CEO of A-techSYN. He's a vertically integrated UAS development and manufacturing organization. Alongside UAVs, the business also develops autopilot systems, electronic components, as well as training operators and mechanics. Next to him, metaphorically speaking, is Anthony Spouncer. He's a senior director of UAVs and UTM at Inmarsat Aviation. Today, we're going to discuss a recent live demonstration of our jointly developed Pop-Up UTM solution and how it can enable a variety of use cases for organizations wishing to utilize drones remotely. Well, welcome, gentlemen. Thank you very much for joining me this afternoon. So I think the most important thing to raise is that I think we can all be very, very proud and sort of give ourselves a pat on the back and congratulate ourselves on the award-winning 2020 ATM Magazine Awards. It's quite an achievement, don't you think, Tony?
I would say so, especially as it's all pretty much been done from your room there and this room here, you know, with all the teams and the support from everyone. So I'm super excited and super pleased to be part of the group that achieves this.
And for me, to be honest with you, and I really would like to say this right at the start of this, we sit here talking about this Pop-Up UTM, we talk about the technology that we are developing, but it's nothing compared to our team of engineers we've got going on in the background. First, let me say to the team of engineers we had at our head office here at Altitude Angel, absolutely fantastic. They really do dig in. Some people come out with a wacky idea and they scratch their heads and they go away and make it work. So brilliant. And I'd just like to say the same for Gokhan's team. The work they put in, we've had nothing but compliments of working, the two engineering teams working side by side has been absolutely brilliant. So let me just say that it is fantastic that such a professional team we're working with and a great, great team of engineers behind us.
And I would echo that. And I think, you know, especially, you know, given the lockdown and the seriousness of what's gone on globally, the fact that Gokhan and his team have managed to integrate, get their systems working and fly them and end up with a full, you know, SATCOM driven flight, whilst your engineers have then maintained that and tracked that, is nothing short of, you know, impressive. It's impressive to achieve anyway. With the current pandemic, it's even more so. So it's been an absolute pleasure to work with those guys.
Yeah, well, thank you very much. And so really what I'd like to say is, regarding Pop-Up UTM then, it'd be a good idea to, if we can tell people how it actually started, whereabout did the idea actually come from? So do you remember, dare I say, do you remember us first meeting? And I don't mean across a smoke-filled bar in some remote part of the world, but I actually remember when we first started discussing actually meeting up and how Inmarsat and Altitude Angel could work together to develop something.
Yeah, it's been really interesting. You know, I think in 2019, Inmarsat did a UAV pop-up lab, of which Gokhan and his team, A-techSYN, were part of. And we got down to sort of 4 UAV providers. We provided a SATCOM, and we attempted, you know, to get that integrated and working. And then subsequently, we met up with yourselves. I think we might, through a mutual contact of ours, and discussed the art of the possible. And with all these things, you know, if you get can do, will do people in a room, inevitably you can move forward. So, you know, I think that's where the idea was spawned with respect to doing it remotely, utilising Gokhan and his team with respect to them having achieved sort of SATCOM integration into their UAV, and being the complete design house, and achieving the avionics on board, you know, and then integrating that seamlessly into Altitude Angel. So I was acutely aware that, you know, the SATCOM worked. That's been around for 2 or 3 years, courtesy of Cobham. You know, A-techSYN's UAVs flying robustly, that's proven. Altitude Angel is proven. But bringing these elements together and demonstrating it in the wider ecosystem to show the world that actually you can take off from a remote location, fly a UAV, you know, and then track it 3,000 kilometers away and strategically and tactically deconflict, I think is the kind of sweet spot where Inmarsat, you know, strategy and opening the skies and working with the UTM really starts to make commercial UAVs more viable. So yeah, it's been a journey, and it's not a patch on what's coming next, obviously. But it's really exciting to be part of. Excuse me.
Yeah, I have to say on that note, I do remember after, I think it was at a conference somewhere, when we started talking about what would be the art of impossible. I remember coming back to the office here at Reading, and we were discussing, well, could this be done? And there's that awful time when California really was suffering with wildfires. And I remember reading an article where the firefighting planes were grounded because they knew there were drones operating in the area. And then what transpired out of that was that the drones actually operating in the area, well, ones are actually being operated by the firefighters. So we got to this awful situation where you're potentially having a blue-on-blue incident where the firefighters had manned aircraft needing to go in to put fires out, dumping huge amounts of water, but it wasn't safe for them to do so because they didn't know where the drones were operating, the firefighting drones were operating. So it caused a huge problem. And again, having those conversations around the office, all of a sudden it was like this idea, well, why can't we do something around UTM here? Why can't we have this pop-up activity that's going on? So obviously integrating an Inmarsat technology and the UTM technology is obviously a part of this. But of course we have the airframe to bring into this as well. And so could you just say, how did you get to bring Gokhan and his fantastic team, A-techSYN, into this conversation?
So again, you know, we met Gokhan and his team at the Inmarsat UAV. We did a UAV pop-up lab, hence the idea for a sort of UTM pop-up lab in 2019. And Gokhan and his team were Gokhan and Adnan were sort of the finalists, and all the finalists were provided a SATCOM, and their mission was to take SATCOM and fly and do something. Gokhan's team sort of left, beavered away, got the SATCOM engaged and working, and have been engaged ever since, really. They are very forward-thinking, very proactive. You know, you can give them the technology, they just go away and integrate it and get it to work. They have it all in-house. It's a one-stop shop. So from that point of view, when we said, oh, actually, we might want to do, you know, a UTM pop-up, they were like that. Oh, yeah, we can do that. That'd be great. So I come back to the can-do, will-do type of people, of which, you know, Altitude Angel and Gokhan and your engineers and your management are sort of prevalent to demonstrate.
And that is perfect timing. That is perfect timing. Look at that. And just as we speak, Gokhan appears.
Come, Gokhan, we've been peddling, waiting for you to show.
Good afternoon, Gokhan. How are you?
Okay. Sorry about this, because I hate Zoom. So okay, I was just looking at you. I couldn't see myself, and now I'm connected from the computer and the phone at the same time, trying to figure out how can I connect.
Gokhan, I've just told everyone you're a technical powerhouse.
No, I
was told everyone you're a technical powerhouse.
Yeah. That's correct. I think it's more a teamwork then. I'm just the guy who orders people around to do something, and then they just do it. Thanks God, we have a very, very good team who can make up for everything that I lack in. So that's wonderful. So yeah. Tony, as you said, I mean, we were very happy with all the results, and we were very happy to connect with you guys and then do these test flights. It was very fortunate that we could do it, though all the COVID situation on these challenging times. Our team has put a lot of effort into it, and You thank them, but I don't think they can be thanked enough. So it was a very, very big team effort, doing so many flights, like 18, 20, 30 flights, and all with SATCOM, UTM. And it was really exciting, Phil, when we saw that little arrow coming down there, showing us that there's a new plane up there. And this message was coming from Altitude Angel UTM over SATCOM to us. And we could see it in Ireland, but the flight was been done in Turkey. It was very exciting. So this is just the best thing a developer can hope for. I assume that was a fantastic demonstration and a fantastic opportunity for us to show what we really can do. So thanks.
And Gokhan, just a quick one. Sorry, you found the because often people will say with the latencies and the data rates of the sort of L-band SATCOM terminal that the sort of 200 kilobit limit was satisfactory to fly and achieve your mission. Yeah,
definitely, because people are I think there is a misunderstanding. People think ARPAs or UAVs are really flown by a joystick or by something. It's not like that. So even though we also tried the fly-by-wire B mode, so by flying it with a joystick, and so it was more than enough. So it was good. The communication, the delays got up to 2 seconds maybe, but that was far lower than what we were expecting. And it was good enough for us to operate under normal circumstances. And we are getting a lot of feedbacks on that as well, Tony. So everybody's asking us now, is this an option now? Can we buy it? Can we purchase it? We want this on our systems. Everybody all around the world globally actually is really getting back to us and asking, is this UTM thing a one-off thing, or is this now a part of your system? And we keep telling them, now it's a part of our system and you can use it. And people start developing new use cases and ConOps because now they know that this is possible.
And it's worth saying that in terms from the SATCOM terminal with the Cobham and Honeywell products, the Honeywell products available in a couple of weeks' time commercially, they're sort of 1.5 kilo solutions with or without separate antenna. So the hardware is good to go. You've demonstrated that, and we've proven that. Phil, from an Altitude Angel perspective, you're good to go on these sort of opportunities.
Well, absolutely, actually, it's one of the questions I was going to raise. So, and it's what I wanted to approach Gokhan about is there's Altitude Angel. We came out with this idea of Pop-Up UTM, and what do we actually mean by Pop-Up UTM? Oh, we can set up a UTM system anywhere in the world, but very short, to enable these drone operations. And what's unique about this, of course, is we're not relying on ground network, so we don't have that ground network capability. It's as we demonstrated, we can do everything by satellite. But having this rapid setting up of UTM technology. Gokhan, can I just ask you a question though? Tony himself had spoken about this on a number of occasions beforehand, but do you remember when Tony first came to you and just said, Gokhan, we got this idea, what do you think of it? I mean, did you think we were totally mad? Or did you generally think, yeah?
No, absolutely not. So all of Tony's ideas are always good. So he's a legend, in this area. So we're looking after him. So yeah.
Hang on.
Okay, this is a webinar. I need to talk like this. So anybody.
You won't be having it.
Oh, okay. So no, really. I mean, it was just something that we have been looking into anyway. So SATCOM was our top priority because in our case, our UAVs, people should understand very well that because when we are speaking from our UAVs are like 5-meter wingspan, big things that needs to fly very close to the ground because of the ConOps and like pipeline inspections. And so they're all in crowded areas, most of the time in conjunction with manned airspace. So what we need to do there is to have a system that not just provides us connectivity, but also safety with using a UTM. So therefore, we needed to do this, and we were looking into it. And when Tony just came up with this idea to put a modem on it, and he told me, I have the modem, I have UTM, Altitude Angel on the side. Let's put you all together and then do this. It was just very exciting, and I think he even tried to make us a little bit more excited by telling us that there were other companies doing it as well. But no, I mean, we have been the first to do it. I know. I mean, we're always coming first. And we just did it. I mean, it was very, very fascinating. Well, so it was a big requirement on the field from our customers anyway. and Tony had the idea, and then we put everything together, and now we're getting a lot of good feedback on this as well.
You know, and I think it's ubiquitous because, you know, part of Inmarsat's journey into commercial UAVs, away from sort of military UAVs and the L-band communication, navigation, surveillance that we've done for sort of 35, 40 years on commercial air transport, is, you know, is bringing that that assured link, is bringing that reliability, but also it's bringing the sort of air traffic element and opening up the skies. And I'm really conscious of being able to work with, you know, a class leading UTM like yourselves to achieve that, you know, before we kind of get you guys then to hand over to the air traffic control, the ANSP, you know, for sort of more long distance flight that goes into more regulated airspace as and when it's allowed and facilitated. And I think part of this journey of meeting A-techSYN, meeting you guys, doing what we've done now, you know, and then upscaling that and just getting sort of bigger and wider to demonstrate that it's viable, it's safe, you know, and to take the UAV ecosystem community with us on this journey and just build out and demonstrate. I'm really excited about doing that this year.
So on that though, can I if you just come back a bit and just come back into more of the technology side of things? We've all said, well, we're effectively using technology that's been developed a number of years ago, and we just bring it together in a slightly different way, and there we go, Pop-Up UTM. But did your engineers on both sides of the house here, I'm not a techie, so I can't really speak on behalf of Altitude Angel engineers, whether there's were there any really difficult problems that need to be addressed, or any issues or any real challenges in the technology side of things we need to look at and be addressed?
I'll let Gokhan take that first.
Yeah, sure. I mean, of course, anything that's been done first has problems. So we even had some problems with the cabling and wire harnesses, and so this kind of thing. But nothing that couldn't be solved with a good collaboration. And I think that was very surprisingly well for us, because big companies like Inmarsat, Cobham, Altitude Angel were working with us, and we were getting responses within minutes, not within days or even weeks. So we were texting, calling, talking with people. So of course there were problems technology-wise, but we solved them. But the good thing is now that those are all solved, and now we have a good solution, and it will work under any circumstances. So that's what we have done. So we will be able to provide these services with our UAVs and with our ground control stations, wherever it is, as long as the UTM provides coverage for that area. So the pop-up thing of it is, I think, very well established right now.
And I think just to follow on from that, so from an Inmarsat technical perspective, no real issues, because the Cobham UAV terminal that Gokhan refers to has been in production for 3 or 4 years, and Cobham have done a sterling job getting that robust and functional. But I come back to support from Cobham, from UAV navigation, because we use some of their components as well, from A-techSYN and Altitude Angel. You know, everyone would respond within the matter of, you know, sub 1 hour in terms of technical issues. It wouldn't go through help desks. It wouldn't go through, you know, there was a small working group of named individuals that would always get their organization to respond. So I come back to before, working with the can do, will do type people, you know, there was always a solution. You know, I mean, A-techSYN, you give them the problems, they come back with the answers and some other ideas, you know, so it's worked really well. And to be honest, it's worked better than I anticipated. I expected a certain amount, and A-techSYN have kind of exceeded that, and some. So I'm really pleased and excited. I'm even more pleased and excited to see what comes next and what we do next. So yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah, I have to say, I'd like to reiterate that as well. It's quite, in the times of COVID, as we've already mentioned last year, so it's always going to be challenging. But to get this thing off the ground, get it done, everybody is working remotely. To be able to get responses back very quickly, you know, you're going to get a response back to your questions very quickly, really did help. So yeah, it's fantastic to have some great teams behind us. People are listening in, please, if you have any questions about this, please don't hesitate to ask and raise those questions. We have had, as I said, we've already had a couple of questions coming through, and it's a subject actually which has already been touched upon is a number of questions around latency. There's always an issue, using SAT technologies, there's always going to be a problem with latency issues. But Tony, to you, did you experience anything? Are you able to provide us with any information or anything, like any stats around the latency? And Gokhan, did it provide any real difficulties or challenges for you guys to overcome?
So from my perspective, when I joined Inmarsat nearly 5 years ago, they explained to me on the geosynchronous orbit, that actually these satellites are circa 40,000 kilometers out. And on the L-band frequencies, the laws of physics dictate it takes a certain amount of time to go from the Earth to the satellite and back, typically in a sort of sub 1 second, 1 to 2 seconds. Having said that, when we've worked with Gokhan and we said, okay, well, we've just literally today got a technical report on the performance of that, and we were experiencing somewhere in the region of 2, maximum sort of 3 seconds latency consistently across all the flights. When you then factor that into the speed of the UAV, if it's doing 100 kilometers an hour, and it's a 2 or 3 second latency, typically that's going to travel what, 10 meters, 10, 15 meters in that time. You can adjust your ConOps to take account of the latency. And I come back again to something Gokhan said, these are not complete fly-by-wire. They're autonomous UAVs. They've got their own instrumentation on board, and you send corrective information and revised programs to them. So from a technical perspective, that was one of the things we wanted to prove out in terms of this activity and these demonstrations. One, we've got some video feed to demonstrate, and 2, we've got a sort of technical document that we're just going through, highlighting some of the performance. But I don't believe that was a technical issue, and in fact, I think the airspace, position awareness and navigation was the key point, and one of the reasons that Inmarsat's kind of in this space. Gokhan, I don't know if that was what your experience was on the ground.
Yeah, I mean, we have been advocating for this point for a very long time. So those are UAVs; those are not flown by controllers. Basically, I know, and please, if you're from an aviation authority from anywhere, just close your ears now. But most of the time, the operators even leave the thing and go out and then come back again or talk to people. It's not like driving a car. It's you tell it what to do, and then basically the operator only comes in if there's an emergency or a contingency. And we tested even those times. So we tested what would happen if there's an emergency and we needed to take over and fly by VRP. It still responded very well. We could take the UAV to a manual, not let's say semi-manual mode, bring it back and land it using SATCOM and with 2 seconds latencies. So I think it was a good demonstration that that's not the issue with these level autonomous systems. So, and we had absolutely no problem. And we, as I said, we trust this so much that we keep this in our offerings. We tell people this is a ready-to-use technology because we have been very, very convinced that this can happen, and there's absolutely no issue. Actually, although there's a latency, it seems to us on the ground, it seems like it's more secure to fly with SATCOM, because with RF, there always might be some times where something comes in between, you lose the video radio line of sight, and so that's always your concern. But with SATCOM, there's not. Okay, there's 2 seconds of delay, but that's it. That's then always 2 seconds or always 1.5 seconds. And by the way, 2 seconds is up and down. So if you are using it downway, two-way, sometimes with the double hop. So if you're using Samsung, it goes down to 1. Yeah. And it's absolutely very assuring, and we had absolutely no problem using it.
Well, during the demo we did in Turkey, it's quite interesting to note that although we had operating drone in saturated airspace, we did have a manned aircraft start to approach the temporary danger area. And even with that, up to a 2 second delay, the UTM was able to detect a possible hazard, a possible conflict, and 2 seconds easily was enough time. We had plenty of time to be able to track, monitor, understand the activity, and turn the drone away or provide the necessary deconfliction
And it's on that, Phil. It's worth saying that we were flying in a test environment, and the commercial aircraft was flying in controlled airspace, and they were a good few thousand feet of separation between them. So it was a theoretical tactical deconfliction, not an actual. But it proved the point beautifully that you were overlaying. Your UTM was overlaying commercial air transport flights whilst tracking and monitoring the UAV flight, and then you picked up a deconfliction. You contacted the remote pilot, and they took action. And I think this is absolutely the sweet spot of where the Pop-Up UTM and UTM come to play. It's worth saying as well that prior to the flight, A-techSYN didn't just go up and fly willy-nilly. They essentially provided a flight plan to you guys. You had a flight plan. You knew where they were going to fly, and then we tracked their progress across that flight plan. So there is a tactical and strategic deconfliction. So when they issue the flight plan, you do a strategic deconfliction, and then during the course of the flight, if anything changes, you can do tactical on the day, in the last few minutes. So was really pleased that worked well.
Yeah, absolutely. It's all different layers of safety. Whatever we do, integrating drones into the airspace has got to be safe. We can't make aviation any less safe, and that's what UTM is all about. And having a strategic and tactical deconfliction is absolutely critical in this. And
I think it's
everything going on in the airspace is really important.
No, and I think that's my kind of my personal priority, and command and control and situational awareness, absolutely a must have to open up the skies, and identification. But I think I've seen some of the questions pinging in terms of what did we use over the 200 kilobit link. Well, the command and control element of that is relatively modest. And you may see in the video, and if you haven't seen the video, we'll post those out. The A-techSYN UAV's got an FPV, forward position video, in the tail, can stream 1 to 3 frames a second. We stream that so you can see what the UAV can see, as well as, and it is technically possible to stream video over that link, as well as command and control, as well as positional awareness, with some clever technologies. I saw that coming in. But for the operation, in terms of tracking, in terms of flight plan submission and video camera off the UAV, it worked really, really well.
On that note, Tony, then it's just supporting that what you just said there. Just a question from James Martin. I've been running an oil and gas helicopters in the Black Sea out to 130 nautical miles offshore in Romania. SAR coverage is very limited. Could the UAV provide downlink pictures back to the SAR base onshore? I'm thinking of aircraft down or rig emergencies and stuff like that. Is that a feasible opportunity there?
It is, and I think we have a couple of and again, James, please get in contact, come through Altitude Angel, direct to myself. But we have with the 200 link, there's a company that we use called Ansor. They do some really clever stuff where they stream relatively low. They have different technologies, but they stream relatively low quality images until you see the piece you're interested in. Then you pinch that and it will do that piece in HD, a subframe. And they also do like a storyboard mechanism. So there is the technologies to mix and match that. And we're also exploring another technology at the moment to massively enhance the data that can go over that sort of link with substantial reductions. But yeah, being able to stream videos such you can make out an image. And we had a look at some oil rig kind of analytics with UAVs before with a previous company, I think about 1.5 years, 2 years ago. The idea was you would stream sufficient video to make it out, but on board the UAV, they would take real high resolution video as well. And they would use hydrocarbon sensors and all sorts of stuff. You had enough on the camera to see what was going on, but when you landed, you could then offload the really rich data and do the analysis. But it was enough of an image for you to say, actually, I need to stop here. I need to take more images here. I've got a problem. There's something at this position and this location. So absolutely, that is functional. I'm more than happy to engage anyone after this call and put them in contact with organisations that can help them to do that.
Well, I think the key about that is just around the UTM side of things, the fact we can track and monitor manned and unmanned aircraft. So if you're talking about a possible search and rescue environment there, where there has been an incident, a dreadful incident, and we need to be able to track and monitor. We know drones can support not so much the rescue side, but the search side, and we can get the manned aircraft in there. Just I touched upon right at the start of this is that we the California fire examples were that they couldn't get the aircraft in to put out fires because they thought their drones operating in the air, and you're sort of getting blue on blue incidents. And this kind of example is exactly that. We can prevent those blue on blue incidents, so we can get the drone supporting the manned aircraft, getting real good search and rescue operation and recovery very, very quickly. As I said, UTM can be set up very, very quickly in this, and it's kind of interesting.
And I think, I think some of the exciting stuff, if there's a major incident, in terms of as a national disaster, you can spool up a network of UAVs to search and look and video and record. But I'm also aware, from colleagues at Inmarsat that do, when we support Communications Sans Frontières, where we send communications that, in natural disaster zones, when everyone arrives, often or not, there are UAVs ready to go to survey, to find out what roads are down, where people are, what's flooded, where help is needed, but they can't go. They can't take off because military helicopters are flying missions and doing disaster relief, and they can't take the risk. So, as you say, the Pop-Up UTM there, you can spool it up globally anywhere that the UAVs can start doing the analytics, recording information and getting some topography, whilst you then do the manned missions for the heavy lift activities. So it's a really interesting time to bring those together in a very controlled manner. It would be nice. Well, nice. That's kind of part of the plans later in the year, is to start to demonstrate more of that kind of capability. But UTM is absolutely it. I just saw one come up with a Turkish ANSP question. So I'll let you answer that, Phil.
Let me just read out a question. Was there a Turkish ANSP providing the real-time air picture, real-time radar picture to integrate into the UTM? Was ADSB used for UAV and being received via satellite? So Altitude Angel, basically, we pick up global ADSB activity. So we have a complete coverage of the world. There are lots and lots of ADSB providers. We subsume all of that ADSB data into our UTM, Guardian UTM operating system. From there, then we can track and monitor, obviously, ADSB aircraft, or aircraft that transmit ADSB. In addition to that, though, we have demonstrated in the past we can subsume a lot more data from many, many formats, and that can be from raw radar, ATC radar. It could be for a secondary radar, mode S. We can have RF technology. You mentioned ADSB. We have lots and lots and lots of sensors, DJI, aeroscope, all that kind of stuff. And we demonstrated that. So the more sensors you have in an area, the richer the picture you can get of the activity taking place. But this activity was done tracking through ADSB, my understanding. I can't tell you the exact detail. Perhaps Gokhan, you can tell us.
Yeah, I think that the main question here is whether the UAV had a transponder on it and whether Altitude Angel got the information from the ADSB or not. So we do have ADSB transponders on our UAVs, but for this application, we didn't turn it on. So basically, all the information that came from the UAV came over the satellite communication and over a service that we prepared, and we connected to the Altitude Angel services, and we fed them with the attitude information of the UAVs, and then got the responses back from Altitude Angel, and then put it again on the screen of the ground control station. So yes, we do have transponders, but what we have done right now had nothing to do with the transponder side. The only transponder part was when we did see a transponder using manned aircraft within our zone. So that was because Altitude Angel was, and this was not planned. So we were just flying and testing, and then that arrow just popped up, and then we just looked up and saw that there is a manned aircraft there. So that's basically how nice it was. So again, we are transmitting our UAV data over our services, not with transponders. And this also shows how well we have seen into the future, because now ADSPs are forbidden to be used in the USA for drones. That means you need to have remote ID, which basically is what we are doing right now. So remote ID UTM, that's the way forward to integrate systems into the manned airspace, and that's how it goes in the US at least. And I also think then SATCOM is just a part of it, because then you need reliable communication and connectivity.
It's worth, sorry Phil, it's worth on that question saying that although we didn't involve the ANSP in Turkey because it was in controlled, airspace where Gokhan could play on us on a range, that Altitude Angel has been designed to interface and hand off to ANSPs, and you've got that integration working with NATS, correct? So that actually, the idea being that you would do a flight plan below 500 feet. If for any reason you had to go up into controlled airspace, Altitude Angel would hand that flight plan over to the ANSP, get authorization, make everyone aware, and then carry on controlling it post the event. So it's really important to raise that this isn't just a solution for a little closed space below 400 feet. This solution can scale and in fact can take a lot of the traffic and then hand over to ANSPs when you need to get into mixed airspace. Is that a fair statement, Phil?
Yeah, that's a really good point. That there are numerous countries at various levels of engagement with drones and UTM, and what is it they actually want to try and achieve, and whether the ANSP just see all of the airspace and have control of absolutely everything that's going on within the FIR, UIR, or just what they're perhaps licensed to, and that could be their regulated piece of airspace. I think the key to a lot of this is to instill the right behaviors within the drone operators. You're not just playing around with a toy now. You're mixing with professional pilots, traditional airspace users, and we need to encourage the right behaviors, and safety is absolutely critical. So drone operators, what do we want them to do? Well, we want them to announce where they're flying, even if they just use an app, which, for example, Drone Assist app, the NATS provider, which we run for them. Guardian UTM, there's one we've done for LVNL as well, just to say, I'm flying here, flying now. And as soon as they're operating VLOS operations, that information can be promulgated to others and shared, and therefore improving safety. And then, of course, then that could be integrated into the ATM and how the ANSP wishes to operate. And we can start building up ConOps and method of operations and deconflictions around that. So there's lots and lots of stuff around that going on, and as I say, different countries at various stages of integration or engaging with the with drones operators and things. But I think what I'd like to put it back to, just very, very conscious of the time, because it seems to be around 40 minutes seems to have flown by, which is really, really good. And it's something that we have sort of touched upon, but we haven't actually really answered the question. And it's an obvious question, but we said we'd like to do something later on in the year. Guys, I'll open it to you now. What is it that you'd like to see later in the year? What can all three of us do together to really demonstrate our joint capabilities?
I think before I give this over to Tony, because I saw it in chat, Guy, thank you very much for being visit. This is what we are talking right now. I mean, this is what's on the ground. What we are talking is people are discussing, like our friend here from Belgium, can we do a cross-Atlantic flight with a UTM? How can we deliver goods from Europe to Belgium, or from Ireland to London or UK? Those are the things. I mean, this has completely opened up a new stage for us, and we are thinking big now. So from my side, I mean, I can't go into all the details, but I keep talking with people about all the opportunities that are now out there, and everybody's so excited about this.
I think from my, thank you, Gokhan. I think from my, an Inmarsat perspective, we're painfully aware of the regulations and the safety in the air, airspace management element, and we've been in that space working alongside the regulator and assisting the regulator and demonstrating our systems for sort of best part of 40 years for commercial air transport. So it's vitally important we keep everything apart. It's also really important to say on this call that, we are showing technical capabilities, not nothing that's been necessarily agreed in the regulation yet. So to work with the regulators, and that's everything from the FAA to the CAA to Eurocontrol, and everyone's got a slightly different angle to understand where they're going, what they're doing, and help influence and bring sort of solutions to some of their problems. From my perspective, I think either longer flights, you know, and I know Gokhan got excited at some point, and they're based in Ireland, flying sort of from Ireland to the UK, of the delivery of some description. I think more importantly, I would like to see more a scaled version of this with maybe multiple UAVs, different types, and manned aviation, a couple of helicopters, you know, working in really close coordination with all the safety you know, elements put in place to make sure nothing untoward can occur. But doing that in a space on a mission, be it search and rescue, be it anything like that, where maybe there's UAVs at one altitude crisscrossing, looking for, you know, heat sinks or people, or going out to survey something before, you know, a manned vehicle is sent. That would be, you know, something to demonstrate, and then show the UTM working, maybe managed by someone, you know, not necessarily Altitude Angel, but by a third party. You know, it's that kind of feature, and then also get all the actors in play and literally, you know, give everyone a half-hour notice, and they say, go, right, everything links, spools up, and demonstrate the ability to spool up at speed in a given area for a given mission. I think, you know, towards the end of the year, and we've had some discussions with parties that would like to demonstrate that. And again, if there's anyone on the call that would be interested in joining us for that, you know, and you're a can-do, will-do organisation like the players on the call, you know, we would welcome you on board.
Yeah,
Phil, from your perspective?
Yeah, I'd like to second that, exactly what you just said there, to be honest with you. Very similar to that, let's get a little bit more complex scenarios going on, let's integrate. We did have a manned aircraft approaching the restricted airspace, or the temporary danger area in Turkey. And by the way, you can see that on LinkedIn. I believe Inmarsat got on their LinkedIn profile. Altitude Angel certainly has it on there. So if you want to have a look at the video and see what actually happened, please do. But I'd like to actually get, yeah, in a far more complex environment, get more actors involved. Work out really what are sort of safe separations. Let's start engaging with the regulators on this, and working with the regulators, and seeing how much we can learn from it to really push the industry forward. Be honest, if we could get a demonstration going in Australia, and it comes via the SATCOM, and it can be tracked and monitored for anywhere in the world, anybody at any time can track and monitor the activity taking place through Guardian UTM operating system. I think that would be absolutely fantastic. I think there are many things we can do. I think what we'd like to do is to get an industry discussion going. What is it who out there would like to get involved in this? As Tony said, is get that can-do attitude. Who else would like to support it? And let's see what we can do. Let's come up with some ideas. Let's not limit ourselves, and see what it is. Some wacky ideas, and then we can sort of narrow it down to actually go, we can achieve this in X number of months, and let's get on with it. So,
sorry,
yeah.
Phil, and I think that's key. You know, I'm really very, people that know me, I'm kind of high energy individual, unfortunately or fortunately. But I'm really passionate about opening up this ecosystem, the UAV ecosystem, and actually, you know, I like technology, like all sorts of people, but unless it actually does something useful, it's kind of pointless. So let's do something useful. Let's demonstrate, you know, someone being found on a moor. Let's demonstrate, you know, something important, that actually this technology would have a course for good. And also, you know, as you said before, let's keep this discussion going. I kind of I like to sort of share and then get back, and then you can help, because this is very evolving, and it's evolving at pace. No one knows what the next 12 months has got for the UAV ecosystem. There's players coming and going. There's some really clever stuff. There's stuff we haven't seen, but you know, it's just a case of actually being able to get adoption, and help the regulators, you know, to move forward in a safe manner, that actually we can unlock the skies. We can use the Inmarsat pedigree, we can use the A-techSYN capabilities, the Altitude Angel capabilities, COBM's capabilities, you know, UAV navigation capabilities, and let's help develop this sector.
Yeah, just to add on this a little bit. So this is just about UTMs and Altitude Angel and also the SATCOM. It's not just about that, because once you have the connectivity and you can start flying, again, the options are high. So as you mentioned, if you want to find somebody, you need a good payload on it. You need that's what I would like to do. So not just flying around and seeing that somebody's coming or not, but really in an operation, in a ConOps, what kind of sensors we can utilize using the SATCOM UTM, what kind of other informations we can provide the UTM so that they can use for confliction or helping or organization, whatever. So there are a lot of other services. This is just the beginning. We just established, demonstrated that it can be done, and flight data from the UAV can be transferred to the UTM, not using a transponder. So this is one way. So once that is open, and there's a lot of data bandwidth there which we can use. So what other data we can send, what other data can we use to utilize and make these missions better? So that's basically what fascinates me, because we have demonstrated only just one use case right now. There are tons of things to do, and I really would like to like try all of them. So it's like an open buffet now. I want to taste everything there. So that would be my point.
It's a shame Gokhan's not more enthusiastic, really. You know,
yeah,
he could really go places if he was more enthusiastic. I echo that, and I think, you know, sort of putting the cards on the table. You know, as Inmarsat gets into the commercial UAV space, we've got ideas of services and products and things we think we would like to bring. There's nothing better than, you know, use cases and talking to customers or potential customers or people that's actually, you know, this sort of thing would really help us, or this kind of a data plan, or this down a data service, or this backed up with this, and all of that. I just, you know, it will help us develop sort of, you know, products and services to satisfy this emerging ecosystem. And it's worth putting a play in, you know, that you know, Gokhan's organization, you don't have to just buy a UAV. You know, he's now doing leases. You know, you can, even if you have an idea and you want to try it for a few months, it can be really cost effective in terms of us all providing services to demonstrate and prove a principle, you know, whilst in the background discussing commercial opportunities. So it's a really, really interesting year this year on the Beyond Visual Line of Sight activity for UAVs.
Absolutely, I couldn't agree more. And here at Altitude Angel, we want to build this industry. We want to build the ecosystem. People talk about UTM. We refer to it as unified traffic management, because manned aircraft and manned aircraft. We can't have them in segregated airspace. We can't have them separated. The only way this industry is going to grow is making sure that we integrate these things safely, and we can start moving this forward. And that's what this is all about. You know, we're just trying to do different experiments, but realistic, proper use cases. So on that note, gentlemen, I'd just like to say, firstly to the audience, can I just say, we have had loads of questions are coming in. Just looking at the chat forum, they just keep flicking. You can see that at the corner of my eye, and it's just absolutely incredible. We just don't have time to answer all of those questions. There have been some really, really good, fantastic questions. What we'll do, we'll take those questions away, we'll get them answered, and we'll get them up on the website for everybody to access and see what answers they're there. At any time, if we haven't provided any detailed enough information for you, please get in contact with us. You can get in contact with us individually, or hello@altitudeangel.com, and we can direct the questions to the relevant organisation to get those answered. And we'll see what we can do for you. But it's Tony, just before I say thank you, for one final thank you, looks if you've got one final thing to say.
I was just going to say, it might be an idea when you go through the questions, if they group into subjects, that maybe a couple of those will form the basis of the next webinar. So, you know, if there's a lot of common on a theme that we haven't overly covered, say, okay, well, maybe in a month or two's time, we'll do a webinar on this subsection of questions, and we can throw that back out. I'm really keen to get this dialogue going between, you know, the service providers and the service, you know, users, what that might look like. So, yeah, no, really good.
No, absolutely. We do see some really good, strong questions there, and we can base a webinar on it. We'll absolutely use that in the next webinar or in a future webinars anyway. So, gentlemen, many thanks for your time today. Much appreciated, and thank you for your time and effort putting in there. To everybody who's listened in, again, thank you very much for dialing into this webinar. Fascinating questions that have come up. I hope it's enticed you to find out a little bit more about Open UTM. And it's absolutely open and honest invitation. If you've got a great use case, you think you can support this Open UTM activity or a future demonstration, which we can do later on in the year, please get hold of us and we'll get back to you. We'd love to welcome you on board the team. So with that, Again, thank you very much to everybody who's participated, and look, hopefully you can join us in future webinars in the very near future, and enjoy your afternoon or evening. Thank you very much.
I was going to say thank you, everybody. Appreciate your time. Following on from Phil. Phil, thank you for hosting. Thank you to Altitude Angel. Thank you to all our partners in terms of A-techSYN as well, and Cobham and UAV Navigation. An absolute pleasure. I wish you the rest of the day, a good rest of the day, and a great week. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm not going to talk too much, but thank you, everybody. And we are really looking forward to doing something more because it's very exciting. So thanks.
Yeah,
Fabulous.
You just need to be more enthusiastic, Gokhan.
I know.
Yeah,
it's a shame,
that's
isn't it, really?
yeah. I need to work on this. So thanks, Tony.
It's a shame we're all so shy.
Right.
Sure.
Cheers.
Bye.
Cheers,
Cheers.
everybody.
Bye.
Appreciate your time.
Bye.
Bye-bye.